Hey friend, welcome back. Before I get into this video, don't forget to like and share and subscribe, okay? Enjoy. You kind of know the journey that I'm on in my life. And I guess this is a little update. This is a where are they now? Except I am there. So where is she now? Because I recorded that video in 2020 and we're now in 2024, which is obviously 4 years later. And let me tell you something. 4 years later, a lot has changed, but a lot has stayed the same. So in terms of what has changed since 2020, I mentioned the self-preservationist, being a self-preservationist, and let me tell you something, we're done with that. Like, the hand is healed, healthy, whole. Like, we operate in our softness, we operate in our vulnerability. I mean, that's definitely why we're doing this right now, because why am I talking about my business out there during the people in the world? So yeah, like, self-preservation is no longer a thing. I went through a whole journey of like healing, just working on therapy. Jesus and therapy, great combo. Just putting it out there. Just because you're Christian doesn't mean you don't need therapy. So do with that what you will. So went through some therapy, went through a bit of coaching as well. So there's obviously like other things that have changed, but inconsequential right now. What has, however, remained the same is me still being a virgin, still saving myself for marriage. I know some people like have a problem with that phrasing, or that that bit phrasing, but it's my story, bro. It's how I'm choosing to tell it. No, it's not that deep. I get why people have an issue with it, but also I'm saving myself a marriage. Like, I'm not gonna be a virgin after I get married. Come on. And also, I recently had a conversation with someone and she asked me, so if I never got married, how would that sit with me? And I said, this is a vow that I made, and so the Lord would definitely have to give me more strength, but I would keep going with the vow, because sex outside of marriage is fornication. It's that simple. It's in the Bible, black and white, you know, which falls under the umbrella of sexual immorality. And so, yeah, this journey has not been without its challenges. Recently, someone was saying to me that the commitment, basically the conversation was on the fact that life will test the commitment that you made, right? And so this vow that I made to the Lord when I was young and naive, as I get older and it gets harder and harder to keep this vow, it does not mean that I'm supposed to just tap out. All right, I'm out because it's now harder to keep this vow, because it was a commitment that I made, and a commitment is a commitment in spite of your feelings, right? And even with marriage, you know, obviously on your wedding day, it's all beautiful, kumnandi, everyone's happy, you're happy, like you're in love, it's all beautiful, it's all sweet, it's cute. And so it's the atmosphere is conducive for you to make a commitment. But when life gets real, when life gets hard, it doesn't mean okay, I'm out, dude, because you know you're challenging me, I'm challenging you, or like things are a bit hard at the moment or whatever. No, because a commitment is a commitment. And so I also kind of think that me working with the Lord with this commitment that I've made is in preparation for that commitment. And the fact that in spite of how I feel, whether it's easier or harder to keep the vow, and vele, what do you do at the altar? On your wedding day, you make vows to each other. whether it's easy or hard to keep the vows must be kept. The commitment must be kept because you made the commitment, you know? And so, yeah, basically, in the years since that first video, I did get tested quite a bit. It did get a bit tricky. And then I also had moments where I told the Lord, I'm out, dude. I'm very much so always going to be a proponent of just be real, be honest with the Lord. He already knows your thoughts and your heart and how you feel, right? So you might as well tell him instead of trying to cover it under the guise of, oh Lord, you know, no, we're not doing holier than thou moments. No, it's a waste of everyone's time. Like, just be real, save yourself, honestly, save yourself the time. And so in, I think it was March 2022, I told the Lord, I said, it's been a good run, but I'm out. I am officially gonna go hit the streets, see what the streets have for the girly, and I'm gonna go have sex because I see other people, your other children, that you're still working through, you're still speaking to, they're still like walking in close relationship with you, but also they be out on these streets. So why can they, but I can't? And I now know and have learned that, okay, firstly, I'm not in that relationship between that person and the Lord. That's their own relationship, right? So I don't actually know what's happening inside. 2, generational blessings and curses play a big factor, play a big part in terms of like the fact that you and I could do the same thing and like basically do the same sin, but the repercussions of it may be different depending on what's within your bloodline, what's within my bloodline. Tiffany Montgomery says it would be like you opening a door in different places. So for example, if you open a door in Cape Town, in Durban, in Joburg, different things are going to walk through that door, but it's the same action of leaving a door open, right? In Durban, you're definitely going to have monkeys walking right into that door. Cape Town, depending on where you are, you might get some baboons or like other creatures. I don't know Cape Town like that. Joburg, also depending on which parts of Joburg, like Hillbrow is going to get you different results to like Stanton, you know? But this same action of opening a door gets a different result depending on where it is. And so in the same way, the same sin could get us different results. And yeah, so I know that now. I've learned it since, but I didn't know that then. So I was just like, hey man, if they could do it, so can I. So I'm out. I promise you, for like the next month, there was not a guy in sight. Like, just nothing. Anyway. And then when I eventually came back to my senses, I was like, okay, obviously, Lord, that was you. I get it. Okay, Shab, like, thank you so much. But obviously, I didn't appreciate it at the time because I genuinely was like, okay, I've done this long enough. And so then that was March 2022. Then in June 2022, at our church, so generally during Youth Month, the young people do everything that includes like preaching the sermon of the day, whatever. And so I was assigned one of the Sundays to do the sermon. Cool. And I think about 3-4 weeks before, on this one day, I was doing the dishes, listening to a sermon, just regular sermon, like nothing deep. Also, like not in like I'm trying to copy someone's. No, I genuinely was just listening to a sermon because I listen to sermons. And as I'm doing the dishes, listening to the sermon, which is a really good sermon, the Lord then says to me, I want you to talk about your virginity in your message or like in your sermon. I said, So, first of all, I'm out here like listening to your son preach a message, sharing your word. Like, I'm trying to listen to what you had to say through him. So, like, can we not do this? Also, two, what? That was never the plan. That was never the plan. And I remember, like, for a good week and a half afterwards, like, just freaking out and like spiraling. And I'm just like, you want me to do what? And the reason why I was so like flabbergasted is because in the circles that I've been in and kind of you know, in the earlier years of the girlies being virgins and like, you know, team waiting for marriage, what I did see was that there were girlies who had kind of made virginity a part of their identity. And so at any random chance they'd like talk about their virginity, or like they would almost lead with that, which is obviously like ingenapi, you know, but also I guess it's a choice that they made. And so what then happened was, because their virginity had formed a part of their identity, when they then have sex, whether it's because they decided to let go of the whole waiting for marriage thing, or because they then got married, they would then kind of have almost a meltdown after that first experience of sex, because essentially now they're like part of their identity is lost because they're no longer a virgin. And so now, oh my gosh, like who am I, blah blah blah. And so I remember making a conscious decision to not speak about my virginity in order to mitigate that becoming a part of my identity, which would then set me up for failure later on. Like, I ain't trying to get those setbacks when I'm trying to live my best life with my husband, you know what I mean? And so I didn't want to talk about my virginity, because also it was a thing between me and God, you know. It had nothing to do with anyone else. Like, I wasn't doing it because, oh, this is how we're taught, this is obviously, it's what we're taught, right? Which then kind of introduced me to that. But once I made the vow and then was old enough to understand what I'd chosen to do, I then had to commit to it. Like, it was a me and Jesus thing. So now, like, why are you telling me to tell people, like, bangina happy? And so I kind of freaked out. And also I was just like, this level of vulnerability, like, I ain't trying to, nah. But anyway, so obviously he knows his children, and I know that he told me that 3-4 weeks before my actual message, so that by the time I got there, I was ready to deliver the message as I was supposed to, which is exactly what happened, because I had a good week and a half to like freak out, and then, okay, sharp, okay, because you say so, I'll do it. And then, okay, what's the message, Lord? And kind of walking me through that, and walking me through, and then he obviously kind of said where I should say, where I should speak about it and how to speak about it, and it ended up being like a very small part of the message, like a very small part of the message. And I then later on learned from the Lord that the reason why he had me do that was as a form of accountability for myself, because I didn't talk about it with a lot of people, just like my close friends, I could wake up on a random day in March and be like, okay, Jesus, I'm out, you know, I'm gonna go hit the streets, see what the boys have, you know, with kind of no, because also even with my friends, with my close friends, I would have just kind of been like, oh yeah, I did that, instead of like, oh, so this is what I'm thinking of doing, you know. And so he kind of had me speak about it so that I would then be accountable to a larger group of people, and it helped. And then what came after, so obviously, because the Lord knows the end from the beginning, like he knew that he was actually setting me up for success. And yeah, so that happened. And then late last year, I then had another moment where it was again like, yo, Lord, like, what's the point of this? Because it gives, like, no one else is doing this. It gives, is it really that important? It's giving, like, you're clearly able to do whatever, whatsoever, whenever. So let's also try that with me, you know what I mean? And so then the Lord then told me that for me, this action, this choice that I've made, and this commitment that I've made, me sticking to it, that action is me breaking generational curses within my bloodline for my children's children, you know. And so with that, like, I was made aware of, you know, generational blessings and curses quite early-ish on, not really too early, but like, you know, a young while ago now. And so I was always mindful of the fact that I don't want to be the Eve in my generation. Like, I don't want to be the Eve within my bloodline where, like, I don't know, my great-grandchildren are just like, yo, but who's paid? She played us, like, she set us up for failure, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to impart generational blessings and kind of change any generational curses that I've inherited, that, like, they kind of stop with me and they don't go down the line. And so those were prayers that I'd actually make. And then when the Lord kind of said that, I said, makes sense, gotcha. Because in my family, my mom's mom had her outside of marriage. I think she was youngish. I'm sure if I did the calculation, I'd know, but I'm not gonna do it. My mom had my sister at 16. She's obviously before she was married. My big sister, my late big sister, had her first child at 18, again, before marriage. And also on my dad's side, my dad's mom had him before she got married. And so there's like a generational sort of curse. Also, kind of side notes, since we're here, like, if something is repeating through in terms of like within your family, from one family member to another, and it's a bad thing, it's a generational curse, more than likely. It's not really, genetics, it's the environment that you're in. No, it's a generational curse that you probably need to break. Anyways, and so that kind of stopped with me, but in also like a very dramatic way, because it's not just like, okay, you can have sex, but you're not getting pregnant before marriage. No, like, it's almost like the Lord had to have me take an extreme position in order to cancel out and break that generational curse. And so that is why it is as important as it's been for me to wait for marriage and remain a virgin until I get married. Then after I get married, it went down, dog. And so until I get married, I'ma be a virgin on these streets, and I will continue to walk with the Lord, trust the Lord, and trust His timing. Trust that He's absolutely got really good intentions for me, good plans for me, whether that is through marriage or not. Actually, my hope is not in getting married. I'm counting down the days, because obviously, where's the countdown going? Because definitely a single girly. So, man, but I am trusting the Lord, and I'm trusting His plan for my life, and I know that He's got me. And until then, my thirsty moments go right back to who? To my maker, to my father, and I'm gonna tell him, hey dog, it's getting a little bit tense. Yeah, that's a little bit of my story and my journey. Okay, bye.